Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. So, hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I'm gonna put y'all up on something right quick. Two phenomena that we can't afford. I'm going to go ahead and give you their names, if you will, right now. One is the old fool. Now, that's not limited to black people, but it is a phenomena that nobody of black origin, any percentage, can afford. The second phenomena is the phenomena of hybristophilia. We cannot afford the phenomena of hybristophilia in any sphere, present, extant, or any sphere that may develop later on as a reaction and a disaffection or defection, a reaction to and a defection from the gynocracy that is currently pushing sections of its population away, driving them out. Now, this is true whether it is today, extant, or if it is going to be extant in the future. So let me start with the old fool phenomenon. And I heard one earlier on a playback. I didn't hear it live, but I heard it on a playback. If he decides to admit that this particular thing was wrong, I would come back, record it. I'm not going to give his name, but I would come back and record, and I would say, well, the one that I previously called an old fool, or the one I was talking about previously, made good on it, and he admitted that this was wrong. I would do that. To be fair, here's the issue. In addition to telling young men that they have no business being on a manosphere complaining about anything they've witnessed or heard, he then turned around and called a category Crispies. That's not what that particular sphere he was addressing was started to perform. It was not began to perform these insults. The man that actually started the sphere he said this is not about fighting with your relatives, whether they're white or whether they're black. It's not about fighting with them. So, for someone who's older than Mr. Cannon or I to jump in and just start by calling some folks categorically Crispies, not even based on the behavior that I know of, but based on a phenotype. We know what that's about. Well, I mean, that's beneath his stature as an elder. I want to be wrong. I want to find out that he just had a foolish moment, but I mean, I'm not invested in that. I'd like to point out, though, that that's not all. See, one of the things that I wanted to calmly and peacefully tell him until I heard him resort to calling some people Crispies was that young guys have more of a right than what they're doing to be on the manosphere, even crying and complaining, not so much about the preferences themselves, but about the deception. Now, I'm the one who says even they have a right to cry, or rather not cry, but just outright be insulting about the preferences, because the preferences are mutually exclusive. The Western woman is a problem. That's the default. The golden sphere is comprised of maybe 2/3 of women who have decided they're not going to be as trifling as your regular run-of-the-mill wicked witch of the West. It seems to be the case. I see the potential. I want to give them a fair chance. But the default Western woman outside of that sphere is, as I said, they're admitting this on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're calling into Kevin Samuel's show with all of these detractions from themselves, demanding men who have perfect men with perfect situations. I can't make this up. And as Mr. Samuels has told you, neither could he. It's right there in front of him. The issue comes down to, I wanted to tell this man in a respectful tone previously that the men have every right. The case has already been proven. It's being proven as we speak. But the major thing is that they've been lied to, and the culture and laws are even changing. So approaching can get you in trouble. Even if it's not technically illegal, there's a political will right now to culturally, if not legally, lynch somebody. Man approaches women, guess what? He has a high likelihood, if she gets angry enough, he has a high likelihood of being locked up away from all women with a bunch of men and fighting them off in the showers. That's what it could lead to. So, if you're going to be without women, you might as well be free without them. And not have to fight dudes off of you in the shower. That's a hell of a lot easier. I wanted to tell him that. Making an approach nowadays, well, for one, it's got 87% failure rate minimum, according to some studies that have been done. Mumia Obsidian Ali, shout out to him, has the stats on that. I forgot which dating site it was, but they found 87% minimum. Why even engage in that? You got a 35% chance of it ending in a divorce that she requests. Because 50 to 53% of them are ending in divorce. Now, the stats are usually taken from the same year, so that may not be accurate. But if it does end in divorce, 70% chance she's the one that filed. You can do all of the approaching, impressing, taking all of the initiative, only to find out that the only day she will ever show you initiative, the first day, is when she hands you those divorce papers, or someone else does. And then every time after that is when she's trying to tell the court to award her something from the property. And maybe she helped earn it, maybe so, maybe not, doesn't matter. But her initiative will be to divorce you and to either keep her property or take yours, or some combination. Should never show initiative for anything else. Nothing romantic or sexual for that matter. Then you may find out that she was showing initiative to start an affair with another guy. That's a high likelihood of that. And we're supposed to approach and sign up for something that rigged to our disfavor? Really? I didn't go into custody. I wanted to tell him this respectfully. I don't think I'll ever have a chance now. Next, the next phenomena that we can't afford is going to be the phenomena of hybristophilia. Now that takes care of itself in the manosphere, because we'll tell young men, do not satisfy that hybristophilia. If what she wants, if ever what she is looking for, is for you to take cemetery or penitentiary chances to qualify yourself for her, then do the opposite. Every time she sees you, have your nose buried in a book. Put some big old thick bulletproof looking glasses on, and you don't even have a prescription just cause. Because that's the one you don't want. She'll get you in trouble. If you're trying to satisfy. Let me explain something. The reason, ladies, why I'm telling you, because like I said, in the manosphere, this takes care of itself. But the reason, ladies, I'm telling you that are listening is that you're probably in that new sphere. You're probably in that golden sphere. And most of you don't really buy into the whole hybristophilia thing. But there are still ladies with whom you're currently infighting, but they do exist. There's still ladies that want to glorify that. And they may be in chats with you, chatting with you, buddy with you. Understand, if ever there is an offline location, that is going to ruin the offline location. You don't want that. Courtney Cox, corporate attorney in Atlanta, living in one of the most coveted addresses to live in downtown Atlanta, got with Jarvis Jarvette, and people who know him said that dude was a thug. Apparently he murdered her. And he himself went from balcony to balcony shooting it out with the cops because he just wasn't going to pay the consequence for what he did to her. He's dead too. Whether it's a police officer's bullet or he did it himself is debatable at this point. What I heard, I read one report of each, but that's what it led to. She was not a thugette. She was a corporate attorney doing well. She chose a thug. He murdered her. He went from balcony to balcony and even shot up other units in his shootout with the police. He was like, I'm not going. Now imagine you are one of those neighbors. You don't really know her that well. Maybe she's nice to you, but you're just one of her neighbors. And now he keeps going. Now you got somebody shooting it out with the cops, and the cops have to knock some of your windows out with their bullets because this jungle bunny, who watched too many Tarzan movies and thought that's how he was supposed to act, just murdered your neighbor because he had no business being with her in the first place. Now he's going on your balcony, shooting at cops, forcing them to shoot back, messing your property up. Now, and maybe he grabs you and takes you hostage. I ain't going to jail. I'm walking out of here. You understand how bad this gets? You realize what I'm talking about now? It gets bad for everybody. Now imagine you with him and he attracts bullets. Because you know he's a thug. He got enemies. You didn't know anybody was about to start shooting, but they show up and they shoot. You see? This is what winds up happening. Exoticals United knows about this. She said something about this in one of her stories. She knows about it. So let's make this very clear. I know my own anecdotal story about this. My parents' friend's daughter was working for a federal prosecutor in one of the bigger cities on the coast. I mean, you know, a place big enough to have a federal prosecutor's office. And she got involved with a thug. Now, she was taking casework home with her, and he went through the files. Now, he knew the thugs in his city, and the ones he didn't know, he knew who knew. So he could get word to them. They were on investigation, and this is the date of the arrest warrant or a search warrant or something like that. So they were able to pretty much evade ever being caught with anything, but they were, in fact, being investigated due to informants and other evidence. So people began to realize that the ones who they could never catch had one thing in common, and that was that my parents' friend's daughter had access to those files. They called her into the office. She was in trouble. She was facing, she could have been charged with obstruction of justice. But at that point, she did something smart. She was willing to throw him under the bus. She figured, okay, maybe it's this thug husband I fell in love with and married. So she went ahead and said it's probably him because it definitely ain't me. And so understand, I'm not going to knock her for selling him out, throwing him under the bus. However, I can't respect it. But they put some false information in there. She went ahead and took it home. And sure enough, he was able to prove the case against himself. He didn't wind up going to jail from what I know, but she did have to divorce him or she was going to lose her job. To make matters worse, when she finally decided I want no more thugs in my life, even though she grew up Huxtable and had access to black men that were like her, she decided to go ahead and get with one of the Wyatts when she didn't want a thug. So what that shows is that the black man that is not idness is really the last pick. The MLS man started off this way, but now it's the black man that ain't idness. Black by any, even under the one drop rule, that's included. That hybristophilia is deadly, literally. So, those are the two phenomena that any extant or any new spheres cannot afford. If it makes its way into any new sphere that forms as a reaction to and a defection from the gynocracy, that sphere will wind up in the same place they were with the gynocracy. Thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, and as I said before, black, including MLS, non-select heterosexual male power because agenda warriors don't like it. And black and MLS patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.